welcome to Nostalgia Tour. Now normally I talk about dolls, toys, games, video games. On here very rarely do I step out of those subjects, but today I'm going to be talking about Tumblr, more specifically the Tumblr girl. Now I didn't hear about Tumblr until I was in middle school. I remember one girl in my class was talking about it. She asked me if I had it, and I'm like, Tumblr, what's a Tumblr? And she, oh my god, you don't have it? How do you live? So yeah, as an outsider looking in, I just saw Tumblr as a mosh pit of different fandoms, Harry Potter, Fantastical Beasts, Marvel, Lord of the Rings, Lana Del Rey, Divergent, Hunger Games, Doctor Who, Guardians of the Brave, Tangled Dragons, which deserves a video all on their own, Millie Martinez, Voltron, and of course The Fault in Our Stars all thrived on Tumblr. I remember the whole Tumblr girl aesthetic that a lot of these girls that I went to middle school with, and a few boys too, they would strive to look like this aesthetic. The only problem was the aesthetic was always changing because you had fandoms coming and going and starting and stopping while Tumblr was in its influential stage. So come with me as we take a tour and hopefully learn how to be various Tumblr girls. Now, just a disclaimer, although I am saying Tumblr girl, I am just talking about the stereotypical Tumblr user, so yeah, keep that in mind. Okay. The first one I wanted to start with was the emo, because way back in middle school I thought I was a little emo edgelord. As how edgy I thought I once was with my black tattoo chokers, my pink, purple, blue, and green hair chalk in my hair because I wasn't allowed to dye my hair yet, my black Converse that I wore every day, or my checkered ones. I had MCR, Tob, Panic, Bob, blasting in my headphones. Yeah, I was a stereotypical early 2000s emo. Yeah, now I'm going to be talking about the early 2000s emos and scene kids for a second because I gotta explain the difference between the early 2000 ones to get to the Tumblr ones. So, now emos and scene kids I do know quite a bit about because I was once both of them at one point. I was the emo in middle school, then a scene kid in high school. I remember they both had, the swooshy hair that would cover up your one eye, or would stereotypically cover up your one eye. Emos wore a lot of black, black and white, black and red, black and purple. It was always black and then some secondary color. Meanwhile, the scene kids wore black and then a bunch of bright colors, a bunch of bright patterns, usually checkered. A lot of cartoons, a lot of layers, and just candy beads all up their arm. They're very fun. Both had various face piercings, the snake bite ones being the most popular. You would have drawn-on tattoos because you weren't old enough to get real tattoos yet. I remember some kids in my class would actually grab a Sharpie and paint their nails black with the Sharpie because they weren't allowed to dye. They weren't allowed to paint their nails black. And eyeliner, you could not forget the eyeliner. You wanted eyeliner all around your eye. Whether you looked good or not, it had to be around your eye. But the Tumblr emo is slightly different from the early 2000s ones. Yeah, it had a bit of a more modernized style, which was a little different from its early 2000s counterpart. It still had the same, swooshy hair that was usually either black or dark brown if you couldn't dye it black. or diet fantasy colors. Fantasy colors being, you know, purples, pinks, reds, and sometimes green. They would be the most popular colors, and they would never dye their whole head for some reason. They would always be in streaks, or they would just be bangs. Bands and fandom t-shirts, sweaters, and hoodies would reign supreme. Tattoo chokers, fake snake bite piercings, big, once again, the eyeliner, the cat eye eyeliner was very popular with them. And there were these YouTubers named Dan and Phil. I don't know much about them because I don't watch them. I never will, probably. But yeah, I remember they started this trend with drawing cat whiskers with eyeliner. They would draw the little nose and they would draw the cat eye on your face. I remember being on Pinterest and I couldn't scroll 2 seconds without seeing somebody with the cat eye eyeliner on. Also, galaxy print was a very, very big deal to these emos. You had galaxy bags, sweaters, hoodies, shirts, dresses, anything you can think of in any color you can think of. Purples and blues were the most popular, but you also had reds, pinks, and my script's acting funny. You would have reds, pinks, and even sometimes greens. Okay, there we go. Anyway, and that's it for the Tumblr emo. Now, moving on to our second Tumblr girl, the hipster. Now, if you were around in 2000, in the 2010s, then you would remember the hipsters. Taking photos of your food, the handlebar mustaches, liking bands before they were mainstream, or liking anything before it was popular, made up the hipster's whole personality. Now, there are a few like subgenres of hipsters. There are like good and bad hipsters, so I will be going over a few of them. The first hipster I want to talk about is the vintage hipster. So, sepia tone filters on everything, flower crowns, high-waisted skirts, belts, lace, floral patterns, long natural wavy hair, owl necklaces, boots, bonus points if they were brown, with studs on them. The vintage hipster aesthetic borrowed a lot from the 1940s and 50s women fashion, with the bold floral prints, flowy fabrics, and rose colors all combined with the 2010s style of the high-waisted skirts, cardigans, boots. Bonus points if you had a fixed-gear bike in pink or teal. That was like the best thing you could ever have for these vintage hipsters. Yeah, the best photo shoot prop for these vintage hipsters. A lot of vintage hipsters listened to Lana Del Rey, and I think I was told that she like thrived in this era because of the vintage hipsters. Next is the Y hipsters. Yeah, it says TWI. I think that's spelled Y. Anyway, these hipsters, on the other hand, were more bold. They still had lace, high-waisted skirts, belts. They stayed, but with more nerdy, sweet, weird emphasis on cute awkwardness to them. You wanted to be a hopeless romantic and being, quote, adorkable. Were all staples in this kind of hipster. So you wanted to be cute and clumsy, quirky and nerdy, and yeah. Cardigans, skater skirts, frogs, button-ups, vintage book bags and retro dresses and heels were pretty popular with these hipsters. Yeah. And lastly, the last hipster, the mustache nightmare that was the mustache hipster. So in the 2010s, the hipsters became very popular. The hipster style became very popular and very hated. The first two hipsters I talked about, the vintage and the fly, they kind of stayed into the realm of Tumblr and Instagram, so they were okay. They stayed there, and they were fine staying there. But these, they're called mustache hipsters. Yeah, they were in the mainstream, in the spotlight. As much as they hated them, they pretended not to like it. They enjoyed it. The mustache hipster is your more stereotypical one. You know, thick framed glasses, tattoos all down your arm, suspenders, vests, scarves indoors, full-on beards, and handlebar mustaches. Can't forget the handlebar mustaches. These hipsters earned a reputation for being huge eggs with their snobby attitude and desperation to tell everyone about their favorite obscure band while bashing anything mainstream, saying it was, quote, overplayed or overused or whatever. Now, the mainstream hipster was mainly worn by adults, usually 20 to 30, so it wasn't really Tumblr kids, because Tumblr was full of, like, teens and tweens and stuff, so it wasn't really a Tumblr aesthetic. But because it does qualify as a hipster and hipsters are ranged from Tumblr, I decided to put it in here. Also, I wanted to talk about the mustache nightmare that these hipsters brought with them. This stupid hipster was such a big meme, and the handlebar mustache became like the symbol of the hipsters. Now, originally it was for a way to make fun of the hipsters for the way they've been acting, but for some reason became, ironically, a fashion statement. There were mustache, t-shirts, necklaces, bracelets, hats, headbands, earrings, bags, socks, bedspreads, skirts, purses, book bags, shoes, even mustache finger tattoos. Anything you can think of, there was probably another one with a mustache on it. So yeah. Anything. And I don't think I bought anything with a mustache on it, thankfully. But yeah. Moving on. Okay, here we go. Moving on to our third kind of Tumblr girl is... Okay. Our next Tumblr girl we're going to be talking about is the common peach girl, or the basic peach girl. So one thing that the common peach girl is known for is posting very bottom of the barrel, hashtag relatable stuff that anybody can relate to. I remember seeing a bunch of these posts when I was on Pinterest. They would just all have the same font with a random picture saying, I love the rain, this girl loves the rain, when he hugs you from behind, I have brown hair, I wear glasses. And I remember the comments were just filled with, you wear glasses, I wear glasses, what is this, we're connecting. But yeah, very, like, I look back on it and see how ridiculous it was. I remember one of their favorite, unfunny memes was, I don't like drama. Also me when there is drama. Or some unfunny meme about food, relationships, or Wi-Fi. So yeah. So being addicted to your phone, messy buns, messy ponytails, the infinity sign tattoo, Disney merch, 20 points if it was Rapunzel, 10 points if it was any other Disney princesses, Starbucks, Ugg boots, Nutella, love of pizza, Victoria's Secret, and stolen boyfriend hoodies drowned in cologne. Yoga pants, scarves, sweaters, hoodies, and shirts that had "woke up like this" or "queen" or "yes queen" written across them. Those were all basic Peach Girl stuff. I don't remember too much about this one. I do remember being a basic Peach Girl did become like a little mainstream for a while, with some girls even calling themselves proud basics. I do remember a lot of like the popular girls throughout high school strived to be this. This was the one that this was the Tumblr aesthetic they wanted, and they wanted to stay that way forever. Yeah, I remember a lot of popular girls fitting into this aesthetic, and I remember the other aesthetics making fun of them for their, whiny, unfunny memes about Starbucks coffee and Nutella, and how they had no personality other than Wi-Fi and being addicted to your phone. So yeah, if you weren't a common Peach Girl, you were making fun of the Peach Girls. So yeah. Moving on to our next Tumblr girl, the fangirl Tumblr girl. So the fangirl Tumblr girl is obviously a nerd / geek who's really into, quote, geek culture, not to get confused with the twi hipsters' adorable, cutesy, clumsy nerdiness. This geek culture involved a lot of fantasy stuff like Harry Potter, Fantastical Beasts, Lord of the Rings. Also sci-fi type stuff like Hunger Games or Divergent. Some of these fangirl Tumblr girls liked action like Marvel and DC. There's probably a fangirl Tumblr girl for every fandom. I remember some like big fandoms at the time were Doctor Who, Harry Potter, Fantastical Beasts, Vampire Diaries, Sherlock Holmes, Supernatural, and The Fault in Our Stars, Hunger Games, Divergent, and Maze Runner. Now, much like the basic Peach Girl, the fandom girl, Tumblr girl, usually picked one or more of these fandoms, and that's what made up their whole personality. Blue Converse with "okay, okay" hand painted on them, galaxy pants or skirts, Doctor Who and Harry Potter necklaces and graphic tees, Deathly Hollow necklaces with a Mockingjay pin with some other Marvel and Supernatural pins on your book bag. Something with a mustache pattern on it. That is what the usual fangirl Tumblr girl would look like, and she would always be talking about feminism or female empowerment. There was a huge push for strong female characters / leads at this time. That's how we got characters like Merida and Katniss and what's her name from Divergent. A lot of teen and tween girls will discover these empowering characters and communities for the first time, myself and my friends included, and we all just felt seen finally. And I remember there would be inspiring sepia-toned posts like, "I'm not a storm, I'm a girl or no, I'm not a girl, I'm a storm with skin. You fight like a girl. Thanks. She needed a hero, so that's what she became. And you can't spell hero without her." All those quotes with screenshots of Hermione, Ranger, Katniss, Everdeen, Elsa, and Merida plastered onto them, and Katniss. The fangirl Tumblr girls were known to be super knowledgeable about random facts about their fandom and other various more obscure fandoms, and an extremely common attitude within this fangirl Tumblr girl was only their fandoms could understand their struggle, and they hated anyone who wasn't a part of the fandom that actually understood, because they just deny it. you were faking if you understood their struggles and not like Harry Potter too. And the only true place where they can be themselves was on Tumblr. And lastly, we have, not lastly, another Tumblr aesthetic I knew a lot of because I practiced it in secret during my middle school years was the pastel goth. Yay! So I do know quite a bit about pastel goths because I got introduced to it in the middle when I was in middle school, and I would practice it in secret because on the outside I was, edgy, emo, edgelord. But no one knew in my headphones I was secretly listening to Nelly Martinez, Lana Del Rey, and how do you pronounce her name? Halsey or Hazley? I forgot how to pronounce her name. The girl, she has blue hair. She had blue hair at the time. She wrote the Badlands album. I like that one. So, pastel goth is actually thought to have originated in Japan, then originally started in Japan, then spread it worldwide, and spread it to the West under the name pastel goth or creepy cute. Quickly spreading to Tumblr in 2010, becoming hugely popular. Pastel goths took a lot of inspiration from goth as well as Harajuku and combining it together basically. You would have to mix the dark gothy edginess with cute pastel hairpins. So yeah, with cute little rainbows and pastel hairpins. So pastel hair with straight or side swept bangs were very pretty. Bonus points if it was some kind of lavender purple, pinks, or blues. Baggy sweaters with crosses or demonic symbols. Pastel chokers with spikes, creepers, Mary Janes in both black and pastel. And of course those little any accessories with little bat wings on them were very popular. Pastel goth was all about mixing creepy and cute. You want to take the spikes and the spiders and the skulls and the bones from goth culture and combine them with unicorns, teddy bears, Care Bears, rainbows, and pastel colors, and just mash them together. And this was not only shown through the mix of dark and pastel colors, but also through the imagery of, eyeballs, crosses, bones, skulls, rainbows, unicorns, teddy bears, goats, and pentagrams. Pastel goth became, once again, there was pastel goth. There are two very different kinds of pastel goth. You had the more kawaii style with long shirts and sweaters layered with a frilly skirt underneath, leggings, heels, and pigtails covered in barrettes or a headband, as well as bracelets, chokers, and necklaces, and sometimes even gloves. Then you had the more toned down casual style, which I was and actually still am. This could be considered pastel goth if I added a little more pastel to it. This would be a pastel goth, more casual with more simplistic pastel hairstyles, combined with shorts or the suspender skirts, thigh-high or knee-high socks, leggings with skeletons and crosses, prints, all topped off with creepers or ankle boots. Still in both either pastel or black color scheme. Melanie Martinez was a staple for these pastel goths. Well, she was a staple on Tumblr, but especially with these pastel goth community, because she had a very similar style and sound of music. If you listen to her music, you'll notice it's all very pastel-y and pretty, but if you actually pay attention to the lyrics, yeah, very pastel goth. The singer also popularized the split hair dye. The split hair dye, very much like Cruella de Vil, how it's half black and half white. Mine's actually split dyed right now. I have green and magenta. It's faded a bit, but it's still there. It's actually my first time doing that. But yeah, she popularized that. Now you can see it anywhere and everywhere. Yeah, so it started there, then the pastel goths copied it, and eventually the split hair dye look has spread to any and every alternative culture you can think of. And that's it for pastel goths. And lastly, I want to talk about the indie grunge kids, because they're the last ones before Tumblr kind of left the influential stage. So, the 2014 Tumblr grunge is far from grunge from the 90s. Though the two were based around similar concepts of like rebellion and youth, the 2014 Tumblr grunge was much more concerned with fashion and aesthetics, inspired heavily from goth and emo aesthetics. These indie grunge kids turned down the hand-me-down flannels of the 90s in place of coordinated, clean-cut crop tops, high-waisted skirts, ripped jeans, tights, fishnet tights, fishnet tights, and knee-high socks, creepers/elevator shoes, and tattoo chokers. And despite trying to go for a edgy rebellion youth aesthetic, 2014 grunge is often referred to American Apparel or Urban Outfitters era. These looks were often accompanied by, cuffed jeans, oversized jeans, jackets, crystal necklaces, and this very specific black and white grid pattern where the tiles were black and then the filling was white instead of it being in reverse, which is how you normally see it. Yeah, having that pattern on absolutely everything with some kind of line art of plants or roses, some kind of line art of plants, roses, or hand gestures, Polaroids on top of the grid. Doc Martens, black nail polish, and vintage record players defined the 2014 grunge as they listened to stuff like Arctic Monkeys, Marina and the Diamonds, which I also listened to, Melanie Martinez, Nicole Dahlgänger, The Neighborhood, I listened to that one a little bit, I also listened to The Three, and the Chainsmokers. All of these artists were considered indie at the time. And with that is the end of our tour. So hopefully you learned how to be a proper Tumblr girl.